Good evening, you're watching Granada. News is constantly breaking throughout the region, so let's catch up with the very latest now, direct from the Granada News Centre, and Angela Pears.
Good evening from the Granada News Centre. First tonight, a wealthy Cheshire businesswoman has been jailed for 9 years for hiring a hitman to kill her stepson and his wife. Sylvia Patterson was convicted of conspiracy to murder after agreeing to pay a former clown to carry out the killing. Her co-accused and business partner John Holmes was also given a 9-year sentence. Bernard Smith reports.
Sylvia Patterson was so desperate to get her hands on the scrap metal fortune of her estranged elderly husband Kenneth, she was prepared to have his son murdered.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
Paul Patterson had been given control of the metals business based in Marple, near Stockport, by his 77-year-old father. Relations between Paul and his stepmother Sylvia had always been frosty. Enter John Holmes, a millionaire Cheshire businessman with underworld connections and close friend of Sylvia Patterson. During a 3-month stretch in Altcourse prison on Merseyside for indecently assaulting a waitress at a Knutsford restaurant, Holmes met up with inmate Paul Falsock, a.k.a. Banjo the Clown. Banjo, now out of prison, agreed to assassinate Paul Patterson and his wife Sarah for £40,000. But Banjo then had an idea that would avoid the messy business of murder. He went to a Sunday newspaper. They told him to go to the police. There could be no story without a successful conviction. Detectives now wired Banjo for sound. In meetings at John Holmes' dry cleaning shop in Hale, South Manchester, or in this trendy Manchester bar, Banjo secretly recorded the conversations as they planned the murders. Soon after, detectives arrested Sylvia Patterson as she walked her dogs near her secluded cottage in Wilmslow. Holmes was picked up at his upmarket house in Hale. Both were charged with conspiracy to murder Paul and Sarah Patterson.
Detectives in Lancashire are investigating the discovery of a body in a field in Blackpool. Police were called to Martin Moss in the Annas Lane area of the resort early this evening. The body had been removed and a post-mortem examination will be carried out. Detectives say it's too early to say whether or not the death is suspicious, but we'll bring you more on that in our bulletins tomorrow. An industrial tribunal has been told that no action was taken against the Deputy Chief Fire Officer in Greater Manchester after he racially abused new recruits. Don Bramall was given early retirement and was said to be too ill to attend a disciplinary hearing. The 49-year-old horrified colleagues by saying he'd rather be gay than black. Emily Knowles was at today's hearing.
Curtis McClardy arrived at the Manchester Tribunal this morning to formally begin legal action over alleged racist remarks by one of Greater Manchester Fire Service's most senior officers. The tribunal heard how Deputy Chief Fire Officer Don Bramall told Mr McClardy and 22 other new recruits on a training course that he'd rather be gay than black. Mr Bramall was suspended and before a disciplinary hearing went ahead was allowed to retire on medical grounds. It was following this that Mr McClardy decided to take the case further. He told the tribunal that during the rest of the course he felt isolated and that other recruits made it clear that if he spoke up about the comments made, it could bring an end to all their careers. He also claimed that during several interviews with senior management after he'd made the official complaint, he was advised not to contact the unions. In cross-examination, it was heard how Mr McClardy had at first said he'd be happy with an informal apology, but a couple of days later changed his mind. When asking Mr McClardy why he'd changed his mind, Sally Robertson for the Fire Authority suggested the only reason was because the union and management were battling out old battles and that he was in the middle. When asked if he agreed, Mr McClardy replied no. The tribunal was adjourned to a later date.
Finally, there have been celebrations all over the world today of the dish that's become synonymous with Liverpool. In case you didn't know it, it's been International Scouse Day. And pubs, clubs, canteens and parties have been getting in a stew about it. Our very own Scouse gourmet Stephen Perry has been out to sample the unique delicacy.
All it takes is some onions, carrots, potatoes and cuts of beef and lamb. What you have is scouse. Merseyside is celebrating its first ever International Scouse Day, and some of the world's best-known scousers are here to enjoy the delicacy.
It's the sort of thing that has nourished Liverpudlians for centuries. And it is wonderful. It's very tender. It puts it back on you like silk. It sets you up for the week. Yes. it puts hairs on your chest.
They say the quality of Scouse is not strained, it droppeth like the gentle rain from heaven upon all Scouses beneath.
With the money they raise, the Alderhay Children's Hospital Rocking Horse Appeal hopes to build a new cancer unit.
And that's all from the Late News team this Wednesday evening. Our next bulletin is at 6:10 tomorrow morning in GMTV. Until then, it's goodbye from myself and the Late team.
Granada Television's weather, sponsored by Stay Bright Windows and Conservatories. The clear choice in any weather.
We can see lots of fairly well-broken cloud on today's satellite picture, indicative of plenty of sunshine. We're going to keep clear periods as we go through tonight, and again it will remain dry. The best of any breaks, especially over Lancashire and South Cumbria, will allow temperatures to fall to around -1 Celsius, so a frosty start to Thursday for many parts. Winds will still remain light and from the northeast. Tomorrow, essentially not a great deal of change in weather conditions from today. That's to say, dry, bright and again plenty of sunshine. Temperatures tomorrow around the same as today's, up to 9 Celsius, 48 degrees Fahrenheit. Winds light, occasionally moderate and from the northeast. The details for Friday, well, a big change for a start. We'll have a lot more in the way of cloud. It should remain dry during daylight hours, but with outbreaks of light rain later. Highs of 9 Celsius in a moderate northwesterly.
For a more detailed 5-day outlook, call Weather Update on 0891 55 9977.